I'm just setting up the live stream. I won't be long. I'll try not to be. Okay. Get in there. Okay, I now have a second screen showing the live chat so I can see any questions that come up along the way. So I'll be able to field them, hopefully. So, this evening we are taking a look at the PMDG 777-200ER, which just came out today. So I've been busy and I've been preparing my own handwritten startup procedure for the aircraft, which walks you through how to start it up in extreme detail and presuming no knowledge of the aeroplane before. So if you want to see that very briefly, so if we go over to the Ko-fi shop, there's links for all of this in the notes of the video. So you can download the startup procedure from Ko-fi. If you're wondering what it looks like, it looks exactly like this. So it goes through how to configure the aircraft for cold and dark startup conditions, and then how to go through everything to configure the aeroplane, both for a manual programming of the flight plan and doing SimBrief integration with the programming of the flight plan. So it goes, obviously, as you can see, it goes into quite some depth, and then goes through pushback, engine start, the whole deal, and taxi, lining up on the runway. It goes through everything you need to do to operate the aeroplane in a somewhat correct manner. Obviously, this is the bare bones of the real-world procedures. If you wanted to embellish this, you could enormously. There's obviously a lot more checks and things that the PMDG version of the aircraft will support you doing, like doing all the fire checks and stuff like that. But this is just the bare bones, so it's a starting point for your own journey with the aircraft, really. So if you do get into the weeds of it with the 777 or the Boeing family, really, I've also written a second document that again is linked, a quick reference to everything in the FMC, and it covers quite a lot. So I won't go and scroll through it all, but you can see how to program it manually, how to do the SimBrief, all the different autopilot modes, how to add new waypoints into a plan, how to make new custom waypoints. So in other words, points in space that don't exist in the database. How to remove waypoints from the legs page, how to do direct twos, how to calculate a beam waypoints, how to perform the gross flight plan check, how to draw vectors and range rings on the navigation display, and flying at an offset to your planned course, and flying intercept courses. So yes, there's a ton of stuff hidden away in the FMC of the Boeing aircraft, and this obviously goes through all of that. So that's linked again in the notes of the video. Okay, so we're on the ground with the 777. I thought before we get started it might be worth having a look around it on the ground. So if we press Shift and... actually let's press backspace first, then Shift and X. And I should have the drone camera, and I do. So I'm just going to increase the zoom on it. It goes slightly panoramic out of the box, which isn't always the best. So we're going to have a look around it. So the trucks and things you're seeing on the ground are part of the aircraft. They're not the simulator's trucks. So it comes with lots of ground service vehicles that you can switch on and off in the tablet. If we go and scoot past them, and they're done really well as well, actually. They're rendered nicely. So we're going to go and have a look around this thing. It's a monster. It really is. You can just see from the size of the person walking around. Just the size of this thing. I think there's a common stat that's thrown around. The engines of the 777 are bigger than the body of a 737. Yeah, so the diameter of the engine of a 777 is bigger than the body of a 737. That gives you some idea. So I've got a comment on the stream I'm going to read out, quite a proud one. It said, I want to say thank you for all of the hard work you put into the videos and trying to reach everyone with how to get going. So yeah, thank you very much. That's all I can say to that. You know, I started out writing all these procedures and kind of sharing things just amongst a few friends, and they encouraged me to share them more widely, and then my other half encouraged me to put a price on the procedures when she saw how many hours I was putting into it. So yeah, it's been a happy accident, let's put it that way. So yeah, the quality of the rendering of this is mad, isn't it? Look, even the rams for the brakes are all modelled. Every nut and bolt. So if we go and have a look up inside the undercarriage bay, are we going to see any shortcuts taken up here? It's not as detailed as some aircraft we've seen, but still pretty good. So just looking around some of the details, like the lights. That's interesting, that flashed. Did it just catch the sun or something? I think it did. I was in just the right place to see it catching the sun. Okay, so let's go and see about texture. Oh my word, look at the resolution of these textures. There's a sticker on the back of a part of the leg that you'd never normally see. Obviously this is the hardware where they connect the tractor to the aircraft, so it probably releases the nose wheel steering. It's just mad, isn't it? Absolute craziness. So if we sneak in through a doorway, if we go in through one of the service doors, we can go and have a look around the fuselage, which I haven't done yet myself. This is new for me as well. So obviously this is the first class area with all the nice stretched out seats where you get your own little booth to sit in, and then further down the airplane got one of the service areas, and then I guess business class, and then slightly bigger seats, so premium economy I guess, and then into economy. So how many seats wide is it? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wide. That's mad, isn't it? It's a proper wide body aircraft, isn't it? If we scoot down to the far end of the fuselage, into the service area at the back, I'm guessing this is storage for several hundred people's worth of meals for a long flight, because this aircraft can almost circumnavigate the globe. It's got crazy range. So Ronnie's saying, good morning from Brisbane. Agree totally. I've always watched your content on YouTube. Learned so much. I'm only really sharing what I learn as I learn it. So a lot of the time you'll have seen me going on the learning journey and making mistakes. But I kind of make a point of that. I never edit out when things go wrong, because it's always an opportunity to learn in my eyes. So let's go and scoot through the window. So let's see just how big this thing is. We can see we're going to have to move the camera further away. We want to see something near it, don't we? Yeah, there you go. Look, there's an ATR over there that looks like a dinky toy. And there's some other 777s around. It's probably super popular at the moment. Although I've got multiplayer off, so there'll just be static planes that have been injected in. Okay, shall we go and get a flight plan from SimBrief then? Before we go any further. So we're going to jump inside the cockpit, and we can see we're just sat here waiting to do something with the aeroplane at the moment. So off to SimBrief we go. We're going to make up, will be Virtual 073 today. We're going to depart from YBBN, I think is the correct ICAO code, yep, for Brisbane. We're going to go to YSSY, which is Sydney. And we're going to change our airplane type to the B772. And there it is, B777-200ER. Okay, so that's given us our routing, and we'll just generate the flight. We'll give whatever it takes, or we'll take whatever it gives, I should say. Okay, so we now have a flight plan. So if we go into Little Nav Map, we can go and open that flight plan from SimBrief, download the flight plan, create it, don't save what we've done already, and there's the flight plan in Little Nav Map. And then if we go into Navigraph, we can do the same. We can unload our previous plan and we can import from SimBrief, grab the most recent plan, and there it is in SimBrief, and that's given us the charts as well for the departure and the arrival. It doesn't obviously give you the approach, so 34 left. If we go and have a look at what this actually all means, oh, that's interesting. So we're going to be looping back on ourselves. So we want approach, ILS 34 left final will be good, add to route. And you'll notice it still has a discontinuity in there, so there's going to be a vectors or manual. So in the real world, we're going to be using SayIntentions, so we should get vectors at that point. It'll be interesting to see that happen. Okay, so we've got our plan, we've loaded it into Navigraph and into Little Nav Map. Should we just go and check Little Nav Map and see what it's done? So yeah, it hasn't got the approach either. So we'll go right click on Kingsford Smith, show the arrival procedures. We want the approach ILS 34 left and insert it, and there it goes. Okay, looking good so far. So we'll just zoom in over here, make sure it isn't locked onto the aeroplane in Little Nav Map so it doesn't start moving us around. One of the nice things in Little Nav Map is you can show all these columns with the constraints. So if you were programming it by hand, you could go through and see all the the routing. You can see that in SimBrief anyway, so there's the routing here, look. So departing from Brisbane, runway 19 left. Then we got the SANEG 2 standard instrument departure, which takes us to the SANEG waypoint. Then airway H91 to Igdam, airway H652 to Bori, and then the Bori 4 Alpha standard terminal arrival route into Sydney, landing on runway 34 left. Okay, so we'll pick up all of this information within the aeroplane. I'll show you how to do that. So, looking around the cockpit, we didn't actually come and look around the cockpit, did we, with the drone camera? But it's typical of PMDG, really. It's just really nicely done. Everything's super clear and very sharp and very functional. So the tablet, if we go back to the home page of the tablet, so you always press the little blue dot to come into the tablet. Oh, we got a question from Brian in the live stream. Sure, you've already answered this, but when is this released to the public? It's out, but not for the Xbox yet. So it's available from the PMDG website right now. So if you've got the PC version of Flight Simulator 2024, you can go buy it. I bought it this morning. This is the first chance I've had to go fly it. So yes, I've not actually flown it yet. All I've done is written up the procedures and sat on the ground pressing buttons for an hour or so earlier to go through and make sure that my procedure was okay, and I actually ended up extending it enormously because I wanted to cover off SimBrief. So that's what I'm going to show you next. If you go into the electronic flight bag app within the aircraft, and then you click on the preferences icon, which is 1, 2, 3, 4th icon down, that's where you can put in your SimBrief alias, and it's your username, not your ID number. Okay? So once you have done that, if you scroll further down in the tablet, you'll see there's the Navigraph authentication, which I've already done. So that should be good as well. So we can go into the tablet and we can say request the data from SimBrief. Okay, and you can see the route shooting off across the map there. We can also get the weather for the departure, just for reference. We could look at charts if we wanted to within the aircraft, so we can look at our departure airports and go and find the relevant charts and pin them if we want to. We don't have to. You've got the operational flight plan obviously in the tablet as well, so we can go read through that if we want to. So it's got things like the cost index up there, which is useful to us. But most of the rest of it we'll do by going around the aircraft following the procedure. So at this point I'm going to scroll through my procedure and see what I need to do next. So one thing I will cover off straight away, if you're just getting into this aeroplane for the first time, before you power it up, you can hold the menu button on. So it's a bit of not a loophole because it's designed in, but a sneaky way in to go and change things in the aeroplane before you've even powered it up. Hold the menu button down and the FMC will magically come to life. The reason you might want to do that is to go into PMDG setup and you can set your startup state for the aeroplane. By default, when you first install it, it's got the engines running already and the cockpit already switched on. So I always like to start from cold and dark, so I get to do everything because I just enjoy doing, the procedure of starting the aeroplane up. So yes, you can instantly load or change the state by saying panel state load in here. So if you can choose that, and then you can choose what you want to load into the aeroplane. I'm already at cold and dark because I had it as my startup state. So there's no point me doing that. If you go into aircraft, you can change everything about the aeroplane. Equipment has got 13 pages of options. So in line with the various airlines, all of the exact model of MCP or mode control panel, or the various radio kit, which manufacturers one you like having, or the real reason they do this is the liveries that come with the aircraft represent real-world aircraft, and their fit-out is absolutely correct with all of the hardware around the cockpit. So that really means that they've already got all of this configured, all these pages of options about how the aircraft behaves, what hardware it has inside it, and so on and so forth, has all been pre-configured, so they are accurate to the real-world versions of the aeroplanes that are represented by the liveries, which I think is fantastic. Anyway, we're going to come back out of there. We're not going to dwell too much. This is a real rabbit warren of pages and all kinds of things. If you hold menu on again, it will switch off again, I think. Yep, there it goes. So we're properly cold and dark again. So first things first then, we're going to go overhead and we're going to go and turn the battery on, which is over on the left side over here. And that will start to do stuff around the aeroplane. The other thing we're going to do then is go over to the tablet. So you can see it takes ages for the aeroplane to boot up. So we're going to go back over to the tablet. We're going to go into ground operations. Now, have we already got in ground service vehicles, ground connections, we're going to request ground power be attached to the aeroplane. Okay, so we've now got ground power attached, and if we go and look outside, you can see, well, hopefully we can see in amongst everything, yeah, there's a cable now across the floor to this little unit that's been plugged in. Okay, so let's go and have we got the, yeah, we've got the jetway connected at the moment. Let's go and get rid of that now. So I think it will pull away from the aeroplane for us. Yeah, the simulator's going to get it wrong, but it doesn't matter. We'll go back into ground service vehicles. This jetway is going through the body of the aeroplane. That's the airport's fault. That's not the aeroplane's fault. We can get rid of all of these vehicles. So release, 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 release. Oh, I've just done a request by accident. Release, 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 release. So if you want to see what the stairs look like, I'll put them in the back and we should hopefully see them up here. Oh, we've got the stairs over here, look. So they look just like the real thing. So stairs second left, yeah, okay. Okay, so we should have got rid of everything. Everything's animated as well. If you act quickly enough, you get to see the doors sliding open and shut and all that kind of thing. Okay, so we've closed all the doors. We've got ground power connected. So let's go Shift 6 to go overhead. And we're going to go and connect the primary and the secondary external power to the aeroplane. We're now going to rotate the APU switch to start, and it will fall back to on all on its own. So as I've shown many times before, if we go and look behind, APU exhaust is, and now in this actual aircraft it's in a slightly different place because at the side, the exhaust, but you can see the inlet. There you go, hot air's pouring out, look. There's the inlet for it, just popped open. It's cool, isn't it? Okay, so back overhead. We're going to go and turn the ADIRU on. So that's the inertial reference system. It actually stands for Air Data Inertial Reference Unit. Okay, window heats can come on. And then the IFE passenger, so that's cabin utility power can come on. Emergency lights can go to armed. It's a switch overhead there, and you can cover it. And then we can go and turn on the passenger oxygen, because we've already shut the doors, obviously. So on it goes. And we're going to do the SimBrief version of programming the flight, because it's nice and it's interesting. It was brought to the 777 in 2020, quite late in its life. It was added to it when the tablet, or shortly after the tablet came along. So we're going to go into the EFB. We've already pulled the flight plan data into here. Well, that's only the first step. We're then going to go to the weight and balance app, and we can say import the weight and balance from SimBrief. So it does that. And then we can go to the performance tool, and we can import the airport from the OFP, so Brisbane International. We have to change our runway though. It doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't populate it. We're taking off runway 19 left. Okay, so that gets the data about the runway from the database. So we can either pull the aircraft data from the OFP or from the aircraft. Well, we've just made the aircraft have the right data, so we'll just pull it through from the aircraft. And then weather, we can import the weather. And once we've got all of the data, we can click calculate, and it gives us our numbers for the FMC later. Not that you need to refer to much of it, if any of it, to be honest. Obviously you can see you've got landing calculators as well. We're not going to dwell too much on those today. So Shift and 3 will take us over towards the FMC. We're going to go and press the FMC button. We're going to do position initialization. You can see a nav data out of date. I don't think Navigraph has got the 777 yet. So we may have fun and games with the route. We'll see what happens. Pause in it. We go next page. We pick up the GPS coordinates. We go previous page, and we drop them into this inertial reference. And you can see it's gone and set everything up. Put our reference airport in, so that's YBBN for Brisbane, and drop it into the reference airport. We can put gate in, we don't have to. We go to routing information, and this is where it gets to be fun. This is the SimBrief integration. So we can say request route, and it will list your most recent SimBrief plan in here. So if we select that, and you wait, okay? I'm not sure, actually, I might have got that wrong. You might have to say select route and then you wait. So we'll select the route. Yeah, here we go, route requesting. You have to wait for it. So request has been sent. Wait a bit longer. There we go. So we've now got a route uplink. So you get lots of messages pop up. You can just clear them out. So then we can load the route that's been sent. So route 1 uplink is loading. So it's simulating the speed of the real aeroplane doing all this stuff. So just wait for it and it's done it, okay? So we're going to change the runway before we click activate. So we're departing YBBN, if you remember, on runway 19 left. So 19 left. Okay, and then we can activate our route and execute it. If you go next page in here, you can actually see the routing. Remember those airways we talked about? So there they are. I'm just going to go have a quick look at what we've got in here. So yeah, we can go perf init next. It's interesting that it does this ahead of, I guess we've already told it the takeoff runway, so it's got enough to go doing some of this. So we can select 0 fuel weight, and it will give us the number automatically, and then we drop it in, and that calculates then based on the fuel weight, the gross weight automatically for us. And then we can go down to here and accept the perf init data. Okay, and that does a load more maths. So then we can go to thrust limit, and we can leave that alone. We can go to takeoff, and we can put in flaps for takeoff. So to get that right, we can go over to the tablet, flaps 5. So yeah, so this is one of the few things you actually need this for. So shift and 3 takes us back over here. So we'll type 5 into the scratch pad and populate flaps. Then it can calculate the V-speeds, and center of gravity can be done as well. If you just select it, it calculates it and drops it in for you, and that tells you trim, but trim's automatic in this plane, you don't do it yourself. And then you can confirm each of the V-speeds by selecting the button next to them, and the number gets bigger basically to say that you've done it. Okay, and that's it in terms of the basics there. So then we're going to go into the departures. So runway 19 left. If you change the runway, obviously it's going to change the takeoff performance calculations. So don't change the runway. We need to find out what was our standard instrument departure. It was SANEG 2. So we got SANEG 1. Yeah, we haven't quite got the same one. That's because my database is out of date. So there's probably similar enough. Okay, and then go back to index, and we go to arrival into Sydney, and we're going to come in 34 left and the Bori 4A. So ILS 34 left, Bora 3A, yeah, the numbers changed, look. So because our air rack is out of date, we've got slightly different bits and pieces. So notice it says a sausage intersection. Let's go and have a look at that. So if we go down to Kingsford Smith down here, where was sausage? It'll be one of these. It's that one, look. So we'll actually tell it, use that. So execute that change, and it's put it all into the flight plan. So it's going, if we go previous page, oh, it's got it in the route. Okay, go to legs. What's it done? Has it got it wrong? That's rather interesting. So I'm going to show you another way of doing this. If you think that it may have gone wrong in any way, shape or form, what you can do is go into the route page and rekey your origin, and it will wipe it out. It will wipe the routing out. Yeah, it's like essentially a reboot of the route. So we'll do a route request again, SimBrief, and we'll say select the route, clear the messages out. So it's requesting the route again. So it'll only take a few seconds. Remember last time it took a few seconds. So you wait for it. So the request has been sent. Here we go, and we can then load the route. You get a chime when it arrives. And the uplink is loading. So we'll put runway 19 left back in again. And then we can activate the route, we can clear the message out, and we can execute the change. We can then go to takeoff and that's still got the numbers, but obviously it needs to be reconfirmed. Flaps 5 is in there. Thrust. Notice it kept hold of flaps 5. That's interesting to me. Departure arrival. So it was the SANEG, wasn't it? Let's go and check. SANEG, yes. So execute that change. Come back. Go to the arrival, and it was ILS 34 left, and it was the Bora 3. 4A here, we've got 3A in the aeroplane, close enough. We won't do that. I think that's what caused it. So if we look in legs now, yeah, we've got everything now. Okay, that was my fault. I shouldn't have pressed the intersection button. It's for it. If you read the FMC quick reference, I do actually talk about what that does, and it was my bad. I shouldn't have pressed it. Okay. So we've got the routing. If you want to do a gross check of your flight plan to see it on the screen, you can change the mode of the navigation display to plan mode. So it then centers on, you can see the CTR marker. So let me just get the view right so we can do this nicely. Okay, so the bottom right key then, the bottom right soft key of the FMC lets you then step through the route. So you can extend the range on this, say it's 40 miles maybe, and then go step, 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 and just make sure that the route looks okay. So this is the bit, look, where we step around Kingsford Smith, and we know that the route carries on. The plane will carry on in a straight line until we intervene and turn it back into the approach, because that is, you know, that is the flight plan. If we go and have a look, that's the bit, the dotted line, or it just hasn't drawn it. Look, you're carrying on in that straight line. Okay, so that's all done. So after programming the route, we carry on getting the airplane ready. So we go and look at the mode control panel next, and we go and put the flight directors on both sides. Calibrate the altimeters. I'm going to press comma to do that quickly. You can see the co-pilot's one whizzing over there. And then set the initial climb altitude. So we're going to say, actually before we go any further, because we might get instruction on this, we'll talk to SayIntentions for the first time. So, oh, someone is saying flight sim pilot, install the nav data in the EFB. Okay, so they've moved it. That's worth knowing about. So if we come into here, I wonder if it will affect the flight plan though. Will we wipe out what we've done? I mean, I've got a working flight plan. It's just going to be ever so slightly different. It will be in here, won't it? In the preferences, I guess. So somewhere. Yeah, I'm not going to dwell on it. I'll look it up and we'll come back to it another time. So yeah, I'm going to go talk to SayIntentions before I forget all about it, because I did that the other night and completely, you know, banged my head against the wall afterwards. Okay, so we're going to talk to, we're at Brisbane, we're going to talk to clearance. Before we do that, we want ATIS.
028.
Information
Density
Juliet.
altitude 0 feet. Transition
Yeah, that's the
level
important bit we need to
115.
know.
Arriving
So we'll go back to clearance. Brisbane, virtual 073, requesting clearance for flight plan as filed with Information Juliet, because they have integration into SimBrief, so they can see it.
1 second while I grab the paperwork.
And they've got Australian accents, of course they have. So they'll read us out our clearance, we will repeat it back to them, they will confirm it and then give us a further instruction.
Virtual 073, information Juliet is current. Cleared to Sydney via the same 2 departure, then as filed, departure runway 19 left, initial climb to 4000, departure on 119.25, squawk 4557.
Cleared to Sydney via the Sanghi 2 departure, then as filed, departure 19 left, initial climb 4000, departure on 119.25, squawk 4557, virtual 073. so we should get readback
Virtual
correct.
073, readback correct. Contact ground on 124.05.
So we're done with talking to clearance now. So we're just going to put it back on radio check so we don't get people talking the whole time. Ground control 124.05. Oh, we need the squawk 4557. Let's go do that right now. So 4, 5. Oops. Can I actually get to it? Four, 5, 5, 7. And we're going to, well, I'm going to follow my instructions because otherwise I'm going to get mixed up. So shift and 3. I was wondering about, whoops, shift and 1, sorry, gives us the view of the MCP. So we're going to go and set the heading to the takeoff runway direction. We're taking off from 19 left, so we're going to presume 190 degrees, which is closer to that way round. If you want to be exact about it, we could obviously go in and look at the airport diagram. And we've got 19 left is here, and it's actually 196 degrees, look. So we're going to have quite the taxi up the side of the runway in a bit. So 196 degrees. We'll leave our target altitude on 10,000 because we'll get an initial clearance. It'll be an interesting one actually. So what we can do though is say we'll get there at a vertical speed of say 2,000 feet a minute. But we can also say we want VNAV because we've got a fully programmed flight plan and we've got the flight directors on. As well as saying heading, so we could say heading hold, but we can also say LNAV. And you can see that's reflected here. So we've got heading hold mode and LNAV, and it will drop heading when it gets LNAV, and it will drop vertical speed when it picks up VNAV. So as soon as it's in the ballpark, it will go with what it's got. We didn't go and look at discontinuities, did we? So let's go and look at legs and just flick through quickly. I think as far as we need them, it's fine, because we did the gross flight plan check. So we've just got that gap at the end of the flight plan, which we're expecting to be manual, which is fine. So we've done everything on the MCP. We can set the, that's a bit fast, isn't it, for the takeoff speed. Let's go for 200 knots as a target to begin with, and then we'll correct it afterwards. Okay, so on the instrument panel, we're going to go and set the auto brake to rejected takeoff, just before we forget. On the transponder, we're going to set it to standby mode before it irradiates anybody. I'm always amazed it's on TA-RA by default. Prepare for pushback and engine start. So shift and 6. We're going to go and turn the no smoking signs. They're already on. Seatbelt signs go to auto. So they'll tell people to go sit down now. The beacon light goes to on. The pumps can come on. And essentially we can get ready for pushback. So there's a note on my instructions here to make sure the parking brake is released. You have to hold the toe brakes on for a second for the parking brake to release in the big Boeings. So if I hold the toe brakes on, is this actually working? I'm going to pull my joystick and push it back in again. There we go. It's a common bug with some USB drivers. So toe brakes on. Oh, it helps if you release the brake first. Toe brakes on, and there we go, it's released. And then release the toe brakes and it's off. So we're going to go now and talk to ground. So we're going to contact ground 124.05. Brisbane ground, virtual 073, requesting pushback and engine start. Did they hear us? Did the button actually work? Brisbane ground radio check. Oh, you know what's happened? Because I pulled the controller, it's reset it in here. So, yeah, here we go, look. It's lost the devices. So this is the 320 pilot. This one is the 320 pilot. This one is the 320 pilot. I think, or I may have to delete them and put them back, I guess. Let's do it now. So 3, 5 and 10. 3 is comm radio. That's the one that's important to us, okay? So if we move these out, so comm radio, we want 3 and add it. Okay. No, we appear to have no buttons on the controller to do this now. That was rather clever of me then, wasn't it? Let me pull the joystick again. Oh my word, I think we may have just found a bug in SayIntentions. Possibly. No, it's taking it. 3 not assigned.
Delta 92 negative, comms are operational. Please confirm if you can hear me now.
We are requesting taxi to runway 19 right.
Oh my word, this is an unanticipated problem. It's not keying the microphone. Intercom. No, we don't want intercom. We want the headset. Remove that. Comm radio. That's working now. Okay. We'll fix the rest later on. And yeah, it's lighting up now. So we can go back to clearance and sort it out. So, no, ground, sorry. Sorry for that. This just shows the issues you don't normally see on the nice smooth channels, but you see me scrabbling around trying to fix this stuff. Okay, so ground. Brisbane ground. Virtual 073 requesting pushback and start.
Virtual 073, pushback and start approved. Face southeast.
So they want us to face southeast. If we go and look where we are, they want us to face this way. So the tail needs to go to the left. But is there any room behind us for that to happen? Kind of. So before we do pushback, we need to go into here, go to ground operations, and go to ground vehicles and ground connections. Release the ground power. Obviously the APU's been running for ages now. There's nothing else connected, is there? No. Oh, there's the chocks. Remove the chocks. So if we press Alt and P now, let's see what it does. So you do get control over the pushback in the tablet. So if you go to the menu and FS Actions and pushback, because I'm using the simulator's pushback, it's not going to let me. So I'd have to stop using the simulator pushback to get access to the PMDG pushback, where you get I think you get a different tractor. It's going the right way anyway. Okay, so it should go about 45 degrees and then stop the pushback normally. We'll see what it does. So I'm just looking at live stream comments. So great feedback there from Inverteris, but I'm just showing all the different options, so how it behaves, and you know how you can interoperate and use the different modes in combination with one another. Obviously, different airlines. I've actually spoken to lots of different Boeing pilots. That's not going to stop, is it? I'm going to have to press Alt and P. We're going out across the road otherwise.
This is 46 type Airbus A320N, just requesting IFR clearance to Sydney as filed with information Yankee.
So we were given clearance.
Give me 1 second for that clearance.
For engine start. So let's go do that.
For type Boeing 777-8. Requesting IFR clearance to Kansas filed with information whiskey.
So we're going to go and make sure we put the parking brake back on. So we're going to hold the tow brakes back on and then lift the lever, because we're about to start the engines and we don't want the aircraft to start rolling forwards. Okay, so overhead we go and rotate the engine start to start up here for engine number 2, and you can immediately introduce the fuel switch in the 777. It won't hurt it, and you can see the numbers come up. So yeah, just coming back to what Inverteris was saying in the live stream chat, or what I was saying in response to it, different airlines have different standard operating procedures in terms of, you know, setting the takeoff speeds, and obviously there are some safety considerations, like, you know, setting it to the rotate speeds, things like that. But then if you go to V2, that's the minimum departure speed for, you know, in terms of engine failures, really. So there's no harm in going a bit faster than it. It's just that is the minimum. Okay. So you heard a click overhead. That was the engine finishing the start sequence. So then we can start engine number 1, and it comes up, and we can advance the control lever for it. So once the engines are up and running, we can go and switch the APU off, which we'll do momentarily. So we'll just wait for this to come up. You can actually see the start switch will flick back when it's done. If you go and have a look outside, you can see this firing up now. We've actually missed a step here where I've gone kind of off script. We should have put the oh no, we got the beacon light on it. I forgot I did it, where we've been sidetracked doing all sorts of other things. So shift 6 will show us overhead. You'll see the start switch go back to norm when it's done. There it goes. So we can go and turn the APU back to off. We can then go and turn on the hydraulics. So we've got okay, so all of the lights should go out. We can prepare to taxi, so shift and 6. Put the taxi light on. We could have done that with the camera, really. Quite commonly you might want to go and set this to TA on the way, but we'll wait until we get to the runway for the transponder mode. It's interesting, when you look on flight radar, if you see people taxiing around, that's why you can see where they are.
Good evening, Brisbane. Ground, Qantas 45 is with you. At the stand, request airways to Auckland as filed. We have information Tango.
So we're going to go and set the flaps to 5 degrees before we get rolling.
Brisbane
So
Ground,
try and do it while we're rolling.
45, requesting clearance to Auckland as filed with information Tango.
So we're going to go and try turning on head tracking now. Turn off the, so hold toe brakes, release the parking brake, and we can contact ground and say we're ready to taxi to runway 19 left. Make sure we're not rolling. Brisbane ground, virtual 073, ready to taxi to runway 19 left.
Virtual 073, taxi to runway 19 left via Charlie 6, Bravo, Bravo 1, Alpha 1.
Taxi to runway 19 left via Charlie 6, Bravo, Alpha 1, virtual 073. So we want to do an immediate left, or no, the exit directly over there is the one for us. So let's ease the throttles forwards. And we're rolling. Get out onto the yellow line. Try to avoid smashing the 208 to pieces. We might have to give these guys a bit wider berth than the yellow line. Shall we look? 'Cause we are huge. Yeah. So we carry on down Bravo all the way to the end and then go for Alpha 1. The trees look like matchsticks next to it, don't they? So there's a question in the live stream, do we get this or the InnyBuilds Airbus A350? It depends what aeroplane family you like. I've never quite understood this, but there's a real division in the community between the people that like the Boeings and the people that like the Airbuses. I tend to just like all of them, but then I think everybody knows that about me, that I'll fly anything and I'll enjoy anything, so let's turn the head tracking off so it doesn't bobble around as I'm talking.
Velocity 121 is at stand 30, ready for push start.
Velocity 21, Brisbane ground push and start approved.
Brisbane ground, Qantas 118, request taxi to the gate.
Qantas 118, Brisbane ground, taxi to gate at your discretion. Good day.
Should we speed this up a bit? So if we're going to have a look at Navigraph, you'll see we're charging along Bravo, and then we get right to the end and go to Alpha 1. I'm not sure these trees are actually there in the real world. There's too much risk of that happening. We're getting there slowly. Just reading the comments there about the Airbus versus Boeing decision. there's more to do in a Boeing. I think that's my take on it. So if you like having a lot to do, the Boeing might be more fun. The division of where the effort is different. The Airbus, a lot of it's in the prep, and then the aeroplane more or less flies itself as long as the controllers don't redirect you. Whereas the Boeing tends to be a lot more work on the way. But this is all based on the simplified kind of simmer view of nothing ever changes. So yeah, you could, if you've not got ATC involved, you could have an Airbus fly you from one end of the route to the other without, really any interference by you at all. Whereas it's going to be a slightly different story with the Boeings. But they're both very, very similar.
Virtual 073, contact tower on 118.0, so long.
Contacting tower 118.0, virtual 073, good day. So I'll contact them in a moment. Going to hold short. Slam the brakes on there, made everybody fall over that hasn't got in their seats yet. 118, there's our shortcut to contact the tower frequency. Brisbane Tower, virtual 073, holding short runway 19 left for departure to Sydney as filed. That should give us our first
Virtual
climb
73
altitude.
Brisbane Tower, runway 19 left, wind 205 at 11, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 19 left, wind 205 at 11, cleared for takeoff, virtual 073. So we got straight out clearance for takeoff, which is nice.
Papa Foxtrot Juliet, contact departure.
Contacting departure for Papa Foxtrot Juliet.
Okay, why is it not rolling? Oh, I've managed to put
Brisbane
the
departure for
parking
Papa
brake
Foxtrot
on.
Juliet, climbing to flight level 090.
You do have to be careful on the engines, it's got so much thrust. So let's go and straighten this out. So you'll notice it's come up with a warning on the screen. I'm going to show you that. So it's saying checklist incomplete. Okay, and TCAS is off. So it's giving us our last couple of warnings. So we're going to go and put the TCAS to TA only. And it's complaining about the doors as well. That's new. So do we get door control on the panel here? I'm just looking for the door buttons. Deactivated. Oh, that's nice of them. So it's just a caution basically. So that's interesting. That looks like a missing letter in the font. Anyway, checking incomplete. Oh, sorry, checklist incomplete. So you press checklist over here and it comes up over here. So we can go in here. Checklist complete. So we can go norm, oxygen, and we can go and tick everything off that we have done so far. Checklist complete. And when you have done all the normal checklists, so we've done pre-flight, we've done before start, we should have done before start. So normally in the real world, when you've got two people doing this, one person can be doing it as I was, and the other person can be ticking them off. And the airplane does actually check it. So before takeoff, so we've done our checks and the warning's gone away. So it's complaining about the doors. Is that something to do with the tablet? Let's go and check. I've not seen that before. So if we go to ground operations, go to door management, armed, entry 3 left is open. Oh, that'd be why. Armed, entry 3 right, armed. No, it's opening them. That's wrong. Why is it not? Okay, so it's armed to open. It's just about knowing the sequence, isn't it? So close, close, closing, closing, close. So it should come back to arm. or disarm in that case. That's interesting. Cargo aft is closed, so okay, we've got a couple of panels that are still open. That's what it's complaining about. But that was interesting. We had a letter. Usually when you see a box shape, it may be that the box means door, but that's an interesting one. So flaps are 5, doors are on auto, so all the warnings have gone away. These are just notifications. So we are ready to go. I'll leave it on this view without head tracking. So we hold the toe brakes on again to release the parking brake, and we go. So throttles all the way forwards. There is a button on the control quadrant for the 737. Sorry, for the 777.
Jetstar 1958, Brisbane Tower, roger.
Okay, so gear up. And we can go and engage the autopilot. The auto throttle has come on automatically, and you'll see now it has dropped heading mode, and it has dropped the climb, the vertical speed mode. So as soon as it established it was in the ballpark to use them, you know, to use LNAV and VNAV, it did so. So we can start lifting flaps. Or did we didn't put the landing lights on, did we? They should be on below 10,000 feet. This is the problem. I always get this of talking and doing and explaining and always miss something. So the taxi light can come off. Strobe light should be on as well. That should. When we entered the runway, we should have put the landing lights and the strobe on. I completely missed it, where I was rubbish at multitasking, basically. It's all the excitement of having a new aeroplane, and I wanted to look at the checklist and completely then forgot about the lights. So checklist can come off once you've dealt with it. Yeah, so in the real world, it's fun, isn't it, that you would be checking these off to confirm you've done the salient points around the aeroplane, but one person would be doing the stuff, the other person would be checking it off. But there's only one of me. So let's go and check the transition altitude on this departure. So we're just coming out, and it's 10,000 feet, I thought it might be. So at 10,000 feet we switch to standard barometric pressure. So we're climbing pretty quickly, aren't we? See Brisbane behind us. We'll put this back on map mode as well, makes a bit more sense for what we're doing. Yeah, so I missed several things there actually. You should put this back into map mode before you take off and reduce it down, obviously, you know, to like the shortest range possible to give you the first few SID waypoints neatly. So 10,000 feet is just coming up, so landing lights can come off. Now we've only cleared to, they never gave us clearance any higher than that, did they? So we'll go now and push up to our cruise altitude, which was, because they haven't said anything to us, so 38,000 feet. Okay, the aeroplane's now going to configure itself and go upstairs. So we've got a target of altitude. It's doing VNAV speed control. So you can see it increasing the target airspeed. Now we're beyond 10,000 feet. So we can go standard barometric pressure now.
Hey, co-pilot.
And I think it's done it, yeah, it's done it both sides.
Take off. Qantas 001, runway 01 left, wind 155 at 4, cleared for takeoff.
We're off the ground.
Okay, so let's have a look around the aeroplane now, we've got some time. So on the legs page you can show route data, so as well as execute. I've just gone and refreshed the wind data. It's quite cool that you can do that. So if you go back to legs, so you get the distance to each waypoint out ahead of you. So we've got San Egg, and obviously you'll see that ticking down. 7 miles look now. And the speed and altitude at each step along the way. So if you go to route data, you see the waypoints with your fuel burn down, which is quite useful. Obviously you can go next page all the way through. So you can see by the time we get to the end, we still have 18 tons of fuel left, which is a huge amount. So why it's holding that much, I'll never know. You can see a progress page as well, which gives you kind of a summary. So you've got the ETA and the fuel burn down and the distance to go to salient points along the route. We can also go and press TFC. I've got no aeroplanes in the airspace, which why I didn't do it earlier. We can also, now we've climbed away from the airfield a bit, go and put on TARA. You can also press center, and you can see different views in here. So if we press center a few times, it should cycle through them. Okay, so it's only got the 2 different modes. The 737 has a side profile mode as well, which is quite cool. The speed it's climbing at, 3,000 feet a minute, is so powerful, isn't it? So Flight Sim Pilot 1 is saying you can click on, oh yeah, there's a click spot there. Very cool. Should we try it? That's awesome. Trouble is, I kind of think that's cheating. So should we turn the seatbelt signs off and let people get up now? So I watched a video a long time ago now. Emmanuel, the Airbus pilot these days, who has the YouTube channel, who does lots of work with PMDG. I think he actually works as an advisor for them, because he used to fly Boeings, and he works with InnyBuilds as well and lots of the others. He was telling the story about the lights on the buttons, with the lights on the MCP or mode control panel denote whether the button can be pressed. So you should only use this to know what mode it's actually in. Does that make sense? What else can we have a play with while we're en route? Does this differ at all from the other MCPs? So it hasn't got the FMC section, but it's got some other bits and pieces in it. So if we go and look in fuel,
so yeah, departure for a good see, just before.
Pretty cool.
Contact partner.
So go back to menu, cabin interphone, PA all, PA in use, end call. Does that mean I can talk to the cabin? Interesting. What does directory do? PMDG setup is obviously the setup of the aeroplane. I'm not going to meddle with it while we're in flight. I'm going to have a look around it though. So in terms of simulation, you can see the sorts of things you can do in here. There's so much configuration in these aeroplanes to make them behave differently. there's the option, look, sync captain and standby barrows. Yes, no. So you can have call-outs for VR, V2 and so on. Interesting. Auto time compression. You can have time compression on a longer route. Normal yokes or hidden yokes. Steering hardware type. It's very cool, isn't it? And in the meantime, we're taking no notes of the aeroplane. So we're coming up top of climb soon. Shall we... Let's backspace. Actually, if we press Shift and X, that will give us the drone camera and we can go and fly around the aeroplane with it. Look at those mountains. Australia's beautiful, isn't it? So I'm just going to go and check. Someone said about the auto throttle button. Yeah, it's over here, look. You've got the arming switches. They're on by default in the aeroplane, which I don't really agree with, but they are. If you're not happy with any of the startup state of the aeroplane, so essentially what PMDG have called cold and dark, there's nothing to stop you switching them all around, saving the state as your own choice of state, and using that as the startup state. So if you want to give yourself more work to do, then you could do that. Obviously there's lots of checks I didn't do during the startup, so if you look further overhead, you've got the various fire tests and things you could do. And you could play with the bleed air systems and, you know, confirm things are working as they should. So the real full-length checklist for the real aeroplane, there'll be a lot more things you might do. I've kind of whittled it down to just the things you have to do. So you've got the trim level there as well. It's fascinating, isn't it? It's to see the kind of the progression through the design of the Boeings. This is kind of the end of the line of the design of, well, I guess what started with the 737s or the later model 737s, and it ends with this kind of layout. And then obviously the 787s were completely different.
Brisbane Tower, velocity 605, ready for departure, 1 right.
Brisbane Tower, Jetstar 657, what is the altimeter? Jetstar 657, what is the altimeter?
So let's have a look and see where we are on the route. So we've got a little way to go. So what I might do is stick us on the outside view for a moment. I'll go make a coffee. It's probably sod's law though. If I do that, we'll get a... When do we go into Sydney? I'm guessing. Let's have a look on the nav map, see what it shows the vector, so the sectors as. So if we turn the sectors on, at which point might we switch? It's Brisbane airspace still. Still Brisbane. So does Brisbane cover all the way down? We're going to Melbourne airspace for the orange area there. Interesting, but that's still... It's so difficult to see that there's the dividing line. Yeah, so about 15 miles or 20 miles to the north of Sydney, we'll switch controllers, so we've got all this time on Brisbane so I can go make a coffee basically. That's all I'm looking for. So we got another comment in the live stream. You can click on the screw under the flight director switch and it goes to toga, so you don't have to click it on the throttles. Yeah, that's a good point actually to point out for people who haven't seen this. If you look at the throttle quadrant, I might have to move the camera around to show this. So it's around the other side, isn't it? Can we see it? Not easily. It's there, isn't it? Can we get to the other side of the throttles to see this? Or not? Interesting. Well, that's what I thought it was. Maybe they changed the design of this. I was expecting the button to be there. Okay, who's an expert on the real world 777 and where the toga button hides? Because yeah, as you're saying, there is a screw under the flight director switch. So if you, yeah, look, here's a click spot. That's quite funny, isn't it? I wonder what other click spots are hidden around the aeroplane. So what we're talking about there is when you push the throttles all the way forwards in the Boeing aircraft, you can go beyond, well, the 787 I don't think you can do it because it's gone completely electronic. But in the earlier Boeings, you can push the throttles all the way forwards and they'll go beyond 100%. So you can go to like 104%. Obviously if you leave the engines running at that level, you'll damage them. And that's something worth pointing out actually. In the aircraft, if you come into the menu and go to FS Actions, yeah, we can't do it when we're in flight. Ground maintenance has got consumables. So the aircraft does use like hydraulic fluid during normal use. So if you go flying at round lots and you'll be...
Papa Foxtrot Juliet, contact departure on 119.25.
I actually had this happen during a group flight.
Departure on 119.25, Papa Foxtrot Juliet.
During the last few minutes of the flight I started to lose hydraulic pressure throughout the aircraft, and it's because I hadn't serviced it. And the eventual outcome of that is you won't be able to drop the gear, and I think the PMDGs have got the emergency release, haven't they? Has it got a panel on this model? I can't remember how it does it. No, I'm thinking of a different aeroplane, or it wouldn't be underneath that seat, would it? Some of them, I'm probably thinking of a different aeroplane where you open the floor panel up and you pull a lever. It's interesting that we didn't have to play with the oxygen. They haven't done anything with that. Should we have a look at the charting functions on the way? So if we go to the EFB page, it gives us the route map of where we are. We do get to choose what this map looks like. So if you click switch map, that's the PMDG map, which is pretty good. And then obviously if you go to the Navigraph one, you get to see the airways and the waypoints along the route of your filed route, which is really cool. Oh, that's where you get the database. Right. I need to put that in my checklist then. Can I do this while I'm in flight? I better not, because it will mess up the routing. Because it will lose the SID and the start. So if you remember, we went for slightly different SIDs and stars. It's amazing that the controller didn't pull it out. So whether that's something SayIntentions can have a look at. They gave me clearance on a flight plan, and SayIntentions doesn't care about the aeroplane, does it? It's up to me to fly the flight plan as filed, and I'm not flying the flight plan as filed. So if I had it on strict mode, I'd probably get told off for not flying through the waypoints they've instructed me to, unless the new waypoints are the same anyway. So flight sim pilot says, don't pull the data while you're in flight. Don't ask him how he knows. Oh, I love that. Just don't. It is funny though, on about admitting things we've done and stuff like that. You do get, I see a lot in the community of people that get really uppity about procedures not being perfect or doing things in a way that might cause danger in the real aeroplane. At the end of the day, we're having fun with the video game. And yeah, if you are training to be a real pilot, or if you are making yourself out to be an expert in some way, and I'm not an expert, I'm an enthusiast, then maybe you could be a more harsh judge then, if somebody is setting themselves out to be an expert and then they don't demonstrate their skills or their experience. I don't know.
Jetstar 657, welcome to Brisbane. Contact ground on 124.05.
Contact ground on 124.05.
Should we go in the simulator and go and turn on the online traffic and see if it comes up on the TCAS display? So we'll go real-time online. We'll put multiplayer on as well. We'll change our server to Southeast Asia, save and back, and resume. So we'll just see if anything comes up on the radar as the aircraft load in. So if we look around ourselves, press Ctrl-Alt-N, which is the keyboard key that I've set to turn the labels on and off. So yeah, there's somebody over there, look. They're only 18 miles away. But that's behind us, look. They would be off the screen. And I presume the radar is in this nose and it's not going to be backwards facing, so don't think there's much out. Obviously when we get closer to Sydney there might be more in front of us. That's interesting that we got to top of climb way before the marker on the flight plan. Did we ever get handed over to Melbourne Centre? Oh, it said contact departure. I must have been dealing with something at the time. Whoops. Oh my word. And now it's picking up all sorts of crazy stuff. So let's go for centre. So yeah, I'm not providing a very good demonstration today, am I? We're missing stuff all over the place where we keep getting distracted by new toys in the aeroplane. Centre virtual 073 with you, flight level 380 en route to Sydney as filed.
Virtual 73, Brisbane Centre. Radar contact. Cleared direct ADMAR. Expect the Ball 4 Alpha arrival. Expect to descend in about 20 minutes. Reach out if you want an early start.
Copy information, Virtual 073. So the only reason I came up to 380 is because it was the cruise altitude for the route, and there's no altitude changes.
Virtual 073, contact Flight Watch Centre on 122.1.
Contacting Flight Watch Centre 122.1. Good day. Flight Watch Centre Virtual 073 with you, flight level 380 en route to Sydney as filed.
Virtual 73, Flight Watch Centers, identified. Good morning.
Q-Link 21, contact Brisbane Center on 130.4.
Over to Brisbane Center, 130.4 for Q-Link 21. Brisbane Center, Q-Link 21, flight level 310. Brisbane Center, Q-Link 21.
So there's an interesting comment there about manipulating the flight level that the aircraft is configured for. So if you go into init refs, is it? Actually, we need to do the approach data, don't we, at some point? So that's all good. I can't remember where it is. Where do you set the... It's in VNAV, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. So this has got 4 zeros. Interesting. That's going to be the most economic altitude to fly at. So we could always ask ATC to go up to 40,000 feet, but yeah, we've got room, haven't we? We've got time. What was their name again? The centre we're talking to? Flight Watch Centre. Flight Watch Centre, Virtual 073, requesting climb to flight level 400.
Virtual 073, climb flight level 400.
Climbing flight level 400, Virtual 073. It's getting a bit lumpy out there, isn't it? Sometimes in the simulator you can go through a weather update and it can be quite jarring to the aeroplane. That might be what just happened then. The aeroplane wiggled. So it may be that the atmospheric conditions had been updated slightly. So the problem you're getting in the live stream comments is you're seeing what I'm doing after I've done it. So yeah, so we have the comment there about obviously manipulating the altitude. I'd already done it by the time you'd written it because there's a slight delay. And different people will have different amounts of delay depending on the bandwidth they've got as well, which is always quite fun. Should we go and have a nose around the cockpit while we have a moment? So I wonder if any of this works. No, none of it's clickable. Oh, that's a shame. Are there any Easter eggs anywhere in terms of things left around the bags? Or I remember one of the aircraft in 2020 had a cubby hole in the corner of the cockpit that had a floppy disk in the back of it, and it was a joke about the developers of the A320 back in the P3D days that put spyware, or that it was never proven. So
Flight Watch Centre, g'day, Jetstar 263, flight level 360.
Jetstar 263, Flight Watch Centre, identified, good afternoon.
The developers of one of the A320s for, I think it was P3D and the earlier Sims, the aircraft code, there was a small program within the air, I think it might have been in the installer for it. It used a thing called process hollowing, which essentially is a program that doesn't run any code of its own. It runs code it's given while it's already running. And they used it to transmit everybody's the cache of their usernames and passwords from their browser up to them. So, and it was supposedly a security measure, so they could see if people were ripping off the aeroplane, you know, if it was a pirated copy of the aeroplane. But of course, through doing the way they did it, left them wide open to being accused of hacking everybody's personal information. So, we're being asked, how does this compare to the 300? If you could only get one, how and which would you pick? So, are you talking about the Airbus A300? As I said earlier, it depends if you're I find this fascinating that there is this divide. It depends if you're an Airbus person or a Boeing person. If you enjoy the way the Boeings work, then you're going to love the PMDG aircraft. If you enjoy the way the Airbuses work, then you're going to like the Uni-built aircraft. Oh, sorry, I've misunderstood. So the 777-200 versus the 300. Functionally, they are almost identical. The details that PMDG will have gone into immense efforts to get right will be in the performance and the engine performance, the engine options you get, the hardware. So we already spoke about the options in here to change the aeroplane. So if you go into PMDG setup and aircraft and equipment, there's this 13 pages of bits and pieces. So some of this you can change on the fly. So I'll just show you an example of, you can change the TCAS unit, for example. Whether you have a tablet or not, I'm just looking to see something that's obvious that we can have a play with. Has this got a HUD, by the way? No. I'm not sure if the HUD was retrofitted at all onto 777s. It may not have been. So what sort of standby instruments do we have? Does it have ADF? Is it an analog or a digital clock? APU to pack installed. Yes, flight test package. So does it have the flight test hardware in it? Wi-Fi SATCOM antenna, doesn't have one. What's a para visual display? I'm not going to try it just in case it does something untoward. V1 call out, bank angle call outs. So this is all just preferences about call outs, more call outs that you can have, yes or no. So during descent, for example.
Flight Watch Centre, Papa Foxtrot Juliet, requesting flight level 200.
So you can have water in cyan on the terrain view if you want.
Contact Brisbane Centre on 130.9.
You've got all sorts of options. It is awesome, isn't it, how it's so flexible. And as I said, it's because the liveries represent real aeroplanes and the liveries are actually tied to the configuration. So the configuration of those aircraft will be accurate to the real world ones. There will be differences, it's worth pointing out. So if you go and look in here and go to, now I'm gonna forget where this is. There's the documentation's in here somewhere. I'm pretty sure. I was looking at it earlier and here we go, manuals. So if I go and you can go to manuals.pmdg.com. I'll take you there now and show you it. So if you go and open your browser and you go to manuals, manuals.pmdg.com, they have started putting their documentation on the web, which I think is a great idea. It's a much better way of doing things. So we go to aircraft manuals for the various aircraft. So we can go into the introduction manual, for example, and it loads it up, and it comes up with this main index page, but as soon as you select a section, that becomes the margin, and then the circle represents how much of it you've read so far. Yeah, so you can scroll down. Obviously you can search it as well, but you can come down through here and you can go and read in extreme depth, and this means they can update it on the fly. So if there's anything, you know, that they haven't got as much detail as they might like. Here we go, look, the versions and differences. It's the original model, the 200. Capacity of 314 passengers, range of 5,000 miles. Oh, so it hasn't got the range I thought it might. Oh, so we are in the extended range version. Look at that, 7,000 mile range. It's mad, isn't it? So 777-300 is the stretch version. More passengers, slightly shorter range. Key differences. So there you go, there's your information. Oh, have I put someone's saying I've put the wrong picture on the video. Let's go and check that. So if I go to YouTube, I can fix it while we're flying. And if I go to YouTube Studio and go to content and live, and yeah, I've got the wrong picture, haven't I? Go to details.
Virtual 073, contact Brisbane Centre on 130.9.
And I can change the picture. Yeah, I picked the wrong one earlier. Pictures. That's the one I should have had. Thank you for that.
Good afternoon.
So I've just fixed the picture on the video. So shift space. We've just been given some instruction. Contacting Brisbane Centre 130.9 virtual 073. Good day. Brisbane Centre virtual 073 with you. Flight level 400 en route to Sydney.
Virtual 73 Brisbane Centre. Identified. Good morning.
So we're getting near to top of descent. We're only 40 miles away from it, so we need to start thinking about looking at our route to see how we're coming in, if there are any constraints on the way in. So let's go and look at the Boeing for Alpha. So above 9,000 feet at Boeing. You can see this in little nav map as well, just to give you the reference of how that looks. Above 9,000, and you can also see it in the aeroplane. So if you go and turn on the I can never remember what it is, data, isn't it? There we go. Yeah, obviously it's way down range, but you can also see it in MCDU. So sorry, the FMC, not MCDU. Listen to me, or don't listen to me, as the case may be. So if we go, there's Boeing, and we've got, it's going to go to 16,000 feet, but it doesn't show the constraint. That's interesting. There we go. Above 8,000, below 9,000, above 6,000, and then above 3,000. But we've got vectors, remember, for sausage. So vectors means the aeroplane will not follow the vectors. It will just carry on in a straight line as it leaves Nasho. So if we go and remember what's going on there, there's Nasho. So we will be expecting vectors from ATC, so we will continue in a straight line, and we'll go over to heading select at that point, and then program obviously the ILS. So just to remember, if you look in this aircraft, we've got comm radios, and we've got, so the nav radios, let's go and sort this out before we get anywhere. Yeah, nav radios are in here now. So ILS is programmed in 110.10335 degrees, which is probably correct. So let's have a look. 110.1335 degrees. Yep. So we don't even have to program that anymore. The 777 advanced far enough that the ILS was tuned in, or is pulled in from the database, from the routing information. So when you chose the destination airport and runway, or sorry, approach, then it set the radio up for you automatically. So all that means is once we do turn around, when we're given the vectors, we'll switch over to approach mode and you'll see all of the symbology coming up. We have an FMC message. Should we go and have a look at it? Reset MCP altitude. So it's probably referring to, it wants us to set...
737-737, verify you're squawking 3432, mode Charlie.
Oh, did they already tell us that?
124.4, Bundy 737.
Oh, that was somebody else, sorry. So we need to sort out descending. So we could, if we're using VNAV to come down, we could come down to... what's the first proper constraint? Or we could go straight for the lowest one at Sausage. So if we go and have a look at Bori, or go for Nasho at least, I suppose. Although that hasn't got a constraint. That one's got 6,000 or above 6,000. So let's go and set it for 6,000 and see what happens. Because they'll probably tell us on the way down what we're cleared down to. Hey, we haven't got top of descent yet. So we'll press the button obviously when we get near. In fact, this will be interesting to see what it does. I'm going to select it. So it's come up with the profile, and it should descend at 1,000 feet a minute if it's anything like other aeroplanes in the family, until it reaches the actual profile, and then and it'll catch up with itself. So we're getting below the profile because we started descending a little bit early. Yeah? But it will only descend... Oh, actually no, it's gone for more, look, it's gone for 1,500 feet. That's fascinating. So I'm going to tell the controller we're descending. And we're on the... Did he say about the... That's interesting, I thought he did, but it's not on the transcript. I'm just looking at the approach again. Sorry, it's arrival even. The Bori 4 Alpha. Brisbane Centre, Virtual 073, beginning descent for the Bori 4 Alpha arrival into Sydney.
Virtual 073, descend via Bor 4 Alpha into Sydney.
That's just what I've told you. It is fascinating to me it's caught up with itself now, look on the profile. But it's fascinating to me between the different aeroplanes how each of them has slight differences in the way they behave with the different modes and the different in the Airbus world they would call them laws, but the different modes of operation and how they behave with, like we said, with starting a descent a little bit early. So it's now consistently coming down. At 1,700 feet a minute is pretty consistent for the big the big Boeings. Tends to be in that ballpark. It's that whole 3-to-1 rule we've talked about in the past. where for every 1,000 feet it's 3 miles.
Brisbane Centre, Link 44, airborne out of Coonabarabran at this time, requesting IFR clearance to Sydney. Stand by. Clear direct to YCAH and climb flight level 150, Link 44.
I'm not asking for clearance.
So we've got an interesting comment there on the live stream about pressing the Alt intervene button. Where is it in this plane? Does it even have one? It does in the 737s. I'm not sure it works in the same way in this aeroplane. Obviously you can push this, which selects the altitude or commands it to, to begin the operation. I don't think it works in quite the same way. There's so much functionality built into these airplanes. It's an amazing achievement, really, isn't it? So something we haven't delved into at all is the various buttons over here and what you can bring up on the now I'm going to get the name of this wrong. It's not ECAM, is it? It has a slightly different name in the Boeing's ICAS, I think it's called. But you can put up the electricity systems, the hydraulics. It's fantastic, isn't it? Fuel, the air systems, the doors, the gear, the flight control systems. Obviously the checklist we saw earlier. And again, there are more checklists. Look, so you can do the descent checklist, so checking the auto brakes, looking at the landing data for the VREFs, the approach briefing. So in other words, telling the crew or the cabin crew and the passengers what's going on. It's interesting, isn't it? The landing checklist. Again, it's just many reminders. So what does the nav page do? Okay, that just gives you the same nav page. And com gives you company messages. Interesting. What about ATC? What does that do? Nothing. Obviously engines will show you the rest of the engine data, which you typically see that come up automatically during engine start. So that's obviously how you can get to that. What does stat do? Okay, it's just the APU and the hydraulics. Aha, so Invis typed ICAS as I was saying it at the same time. Okay, we're still descending. Let's go and check the transition altitude. It should be 10,000 feet. Yeah. Oh no, it's not. It's 11,000 feet. Flight level 110. Interesting. I'm tempted to go and change the time to have a play with the lights.
Right in 170, Jetstar 459.
Maybe we'll do a night flight with it.
459 would like to remain on the Star 4E4 Alpha. Jetstar 459, affirmative. You can remain on the Bore 4 Alpha Star. Thank you, Jetstar 459.
Okay, so we should. I was hoping we might see the coast over there, but I guess we're still quite a long way out, aren't we? Yeah. When we get a little bit closer to Sydney. It's a cloudy old day, isn't it? we try some of the other modes out. Does the weather radar work? It does. It's not seeing much, but presumably we can play with the weather radar controls somewhere. I'm not going to delve into it too much while we're in the air. So if we turn on terrain mode, there was an option, wasn't there, to colour the sea as blue on when terrain mode is switched on. So it's showing some of the mountains out there. So if we go and have a look outside, there is some raised land. You can see that. So Mark has got the copy of the 777 as well. Fantastic. So you'll be on the learning, or relearning in my case, because obviously I had this in 2020, so I've not seen this aeroplane for a very long time. So it's bringing back lots of memories about how to operate it. So we can start bringing the range down soon. Obviously you can see it's getting a bit cluttered, so if we turn the data off for the moment so we can see the waypoints. Coming down through 20,000 feet. So at 11,000 feet we need to go to the barometric pressure of the destination airport. So that will be Sydney, obviously. So we can go and open the airport and go and look at the weather, and it'll be 10, sorry, we're in inches, aren't we, in the Boeing, 30.56. So we're still on profile for the descent. The wind, we got a bit of a headwind, which is probably helping us. Gives it a bit of resistance, a bit of drag, so we don't have to use the spoilers. I've seen that so many times where the wind has changed during descent and people don't keep an eye on the profile and they end up too high and too fast and end up doing a go around. As long as you keep an eye on it all the way, you can usually keep a handle on it. So Mark is saying, I'm an MH47 Chinook guy, so most of it is learning. Oh, I love these, the PMDG aircraft are so good because they are consistent, and what is there works in a consistent, logical manner. So there's always an answer to why something's being strange, and it's always my fault usually. Which I think is great, because then obviously you learn the lessons. Each time something strange does happen, you learn more and more. So just while we're flying along, just for a bit of fun, I'll show you one of the things you can do in here, which I'm going to refer to a document to show you it. So this is the quick reference I was going to show to you earlier. So if we go back down to the end of here, yeah, flying an offset. So while in flight on the planned route, press the route button, key L or R followed by an offset distance into the scratch pad. So, press the route button and then press save. If we went, what range have we got on here at the moment? Oh, we've got quite a, we'll drop it down to 40 so we can see it. So say if we said we want to go R.
Virtual 073, descend altitude 8000, QNH 1034.
I better not. We've got to get on with this. Descend 8,000 feet, QNH 1034, virtual 073. So they're going to send us to 8,000 to begin with. So we'll just go and command that so it becomes the target. And we're not down through the transition altitude yet, so we don't change the barometric pressure just yet. So Mark's asking, am I on Sim Update 2 beta? No, I never use the Sim betas. I always stick with the release version. I spend enough time messing around with aeroplanes on the Sim anyway. If I was playing with the beta as well, it'd be something else I have to deal with, and this isn't my day job. So I do this for fun. And yeah, I do read the news stories about, you know, what's coming in the betas, and I sometimes get a bit envious and think, oh, should I go get it? But I think there's a part of me that likes...
Virtual 073, contact Sydney approach on 124.4.
Contacting Sydney approach 124.4, virtual 073. Sydney approach, virtual 073 with you, descending to 6,000 feet. Sorry, descending 8,000 feet on the Bore 4 Alpha approach.
Virtual 73, Sydney approach identified. Good morning, expect the ILS runway 34 left approach into Sydney.
Expecting the 34 left approach into Sydney, virtual 073. I should have said arrival instead of approach on my first communication, so again another black mark. So let's keep an eye on this rather than get tempted to start meddling with things. Let's go and get the seatbelt signs back on for a start. So it says passenger sign is on. So Mark has been using Sim Update 2 beta. So tell us all about it, Mark. What's new? What's different? What's better? I read an article on MSFS add-ons, which I think is one of the best websites for flight sim, and they had listed out a huge number of changes that are coming. You know, like detailed, tiny things, but a lot of them. Whoa, what's the engines doing? I didn't do that. Why are the engines racing? That's a fault. It would appear auto throttle isn't working. Or maybe there's something spurious in the VNAV. Let's go and have a look. No, it's saying 240 knots. What on earth just happened? The auto throttle stopped working. I'm going to go back to... I'm going to take control of it. I think VNAV stopped working. This is version 1 of the aeroplane, so there are going to be wrinkles now and again. I don't think it's anything I did. Can we re-engage VNAV? Yeah. No, we can't. It's gone back to idle. Or maybe it's doing that. We'll see if the throttles come back up again. That was odd. So we've come back down.
Climb flight level 250.
We need to change the parameter of pressure. That distracted us, didn't it? Or distracted me. Information, open airport, weather was 35.6. Okay, and landing lights can come on. We could have clicked landing, I know. So are the throttles going to come back up when this gets to 6,000 feet? It seemed like VNAV bugged out, didn't it? Yeah, it's working now. I didn't actually touch the throttle quadrant when it went mad. So it may be a spurious input, could be a bad controller, maybe, you know, bad hardware. Passenger signs are on, cabin's ready. And we are just managing the descent. So we can look at the data now. So we got above 6,000 at Zonka. So we can go and target 6,000 at Zonka. And it's got the constraint, so VNAV should respect that. Let's bring the heading bug around to match the aeroplane direction. So can we... No, that will select the current heading. So we want about 1... I'm just getting ready for what's going to happen in a few minutes. So are we seeing other aeroplanes as well? Yes, we are. Excellent. Very cool. Should we put the weather radar on as well? Make it completely cluttered. Oh, it drops out terrain if you have the weather radar on. That's a shame. I'll put terrain mode back on there. So it's dropped down to 235 knots. What are the flap limits? 235 for 5 degrees. Yeah, it's gone back above it. I'm not going to drop the flaps yet then. We could go for 1 degree. It would give us a little bit of drag. Thus the attraction for doing it. Shall we look outside? So control is showing the boats, isn't it? And the nameplates.
Departure, this is Jet Alpha Zulu.
There's the airport. And
25 nautical miles west
Sydney.
of Bankstown. Maintaining
There's the harbour bridge.
3500 feet. Vision Jet Alpha Zulu.
Vision Jet Alpha Zulu, Sydney departure. Good evening, QNH 1013.
Departure altitude Alpha Zulu, currently at Penrith. Maintain
We're not going to see it for
3500,
very long, are we?
2500.
Let's keep an eye on the aeroplane.
Traffic.
There we go. Now, will it take intervening action? I'm going to go back to TA mode because we don't really. It doesn't simulate collisions, but we don't want our aeroplane reacting to other people being near us. If I press Control Alt N, something nearby, and yeah, it's.
Virtual 073, traffic at your 12 o'clock, less than 1 mile. Same altitude airline.
That's very cool. So ATC is calling out the traffic. Yeah, look at that. Okay, let's go and have a look at the chart. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do that. No, wrong one. That one. So it hasn't got any altitudes here other than the 6,000 feet. But if we go and look here, so we haven't got any further constraints once we've gone past that waypoint. So we can start descending down to a sensible altitude. So we'll go for 3,000 for the moment. Just out of interest, how many miles out is here? So
Virtual 073, descend altitude, 4,000, turn left, heading 150 vectors for the ILS runway 34 left approach.
Crikey, that's quite a lot to take on. Descend altitude 4,000, turn left heading 150 vectors for the ILS runway 34 left approach, Virtual 073. So they only want us to 4,000 for the moment. And turning left to 150. We're going to 155. So let's start going vectors then. So we're going away from LNAV mode now. And we'll go away from VNAV as well, and we'll take control of the speed, and we'll get the speed down to... Did it have speed constraints? I don't think it did it? So it's just your typical speeds you'd be flying at. So we'll take it down to 200 knots.
Turn left, heading 135.
Turn left, heading 135, 073.
Qantas 410 established, runway 34 left. Clear down of runway 34 left approach, Qantas 410. Qantas 410, contact Sydney Tower on 119.45.
Why is it not descending?
Sydney Tower 119.45, Qantas 410, bye-bye.
Oh, it's thinking about it. It's having a job slowing down, isn't it? I'm going to help it.
Virtual 073, 7 miles from Atret, turn left heading 050, descend altitude 3,000 until established on the localizer. Cleared for the ILS runway 34 left approach.
Turn left heading 050, descend 3,000 until established on localizer, Virtual 073. And let's help it do it quickly. It's coming in at quite a steep angle, isn't it? So you can see there's the glide slope, but we're coming in at such a tight angle, it's going to be a bit tight to get this right. Okay, we've got altitude, glide slope, we've got localizer, there's the runway. Let's go and turn the labels off. And let's get the speed back down.
Virtual 073, contact Sydney Tower on 133.905.
Contacting Sydney Tower 133.905, virtual 073. Sydney Tower, virtual 073 with you on approach runway 34 left. Okay, now we're lined up. I'm able to take over just to get a feel for the aeroplane.
Virtual 73, Sydney Tower winds 305 at 6. Runway 34 left, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 34 left, virtual 073.
2500.
So I'm going to go and turn everything off. Oh, here's this, isn't it? I forgot that. And auto throttle.
Charlie Echo Zulu, contact departure.
Contact departures. Charlie Echo Zulu. 124.4, Charlie Echo Zulu.
So give the wings a waggle just to prove it's me. So we're a little bit high. Lights are all on, aren't they? Should we, just for a bit of fun, let's put head tracking on as well, so we can do some sightseeing on the way in. It's gone a bit panoramic, hasn't it? I'm going to zoom in slightly. And we're high. So we've got a tailwind. Why have they brought us in on this runway? We've got 12. Oh, there might not be 12 knots at ground level, of course. It's about 8 knots is about the limit, isn't it? That they'll let you get away with. Oh, it is dropping off as I say that. Oh, they're saying that it's climbed up again. Look, got 11 knots tailwind.
1000.
It's dropped to 7 knots. Okay, yeah, so it's within limits. I wouldn't be surprised if we came in a bit later if they'd have switched for the opposite runway. I have had it happen in the past on a SayIntentions controlled flight where it changed runways on me not far from descent. Still a bit low.
300.
It's complaining about the checklist. This is sinking. I'm going
200.
to hold it up a little bit. Not my finest hour in terms of approaches.
100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
Long and go straight into the
Virtual 073, welcome to Sydney. Contact ground on 121.7.
contacting ground 121.7 virtual 073. Sydney ground, virtual 073, departing runway 34 left, requesting taxi to gate.
Virtual 073, taxi to Terminal 134 via Alpha 2, Yankee, cross runway 07 at your discretion. Good day.
Apologies for that, just had to deal with something here. Okay, so we've just been given instructions, so taxi terminal 134 via Alpha 2, Yankee, cross runway 07 at our discretion, good day. So we need to go and have a look at the chart for the runway, for the airfield. So if we go and have a look, Alpha 2, Yankee, cross runway 07. So there's Alpha 2. Yankee is that side. Okay, so we do a left turn, and then we hold short, look either way, and cross, and straight into the terminals. And no further instruction than that. So, okay, the simulator's not coming back. Something odd is going on here. There we go. So left turn. Oh, we've got the parking brake on. There we go. Oh, I pressed the wrong button on the joystick. We're going to pretend that we taxied in with being distracted. Then I completely messed up and pressed. There's a keyboard key at the top left of the keyboard. If you hit it, it puts you 1,000 feet in the air. So we're going to say we did the flight. That's what happens when other things happen. Life happens. So I'm going to stop it there and call it a night. And I'll speak to you all again soon. Hope you've enjoyed that flight tonight. It was a good first look at the 777. I really do need to go into the keyboard mappings and remove that keyboard mapping. There's one false move. If anyone's ever seen that, I'll show you it. So obviously it's thrown the aeroplane into the air. If I press it again, is it shift and that, or alt and that, control? I can't even make it do it now. No, I can't get it to do it. Anyway, I'm going to call it there, and I'll see you all again soon. Left, Alt, and spacebar. Yeah, there you go. So how far can you do it? If we keep doing it, it will take us up to an enormous altitude. Look. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. That was fun. Obviously, I'll be back over the next few days. We'll do some more flights with this. There's other airplanes that have come out as well there that I'll be covering, so I'll see you soon. Take care.